Hello, I'm Elijah Royal. You're watching cEDH Unhinged. Congratulations to the SCGcon 2025 Portland winners. Good work. A couple of them are from here in Portland. I don't know about one of them, and then the other one was Ian, top fouring. So congratulations to those two as well, but particularly to the ones that come from the local Portland meta. Proud of you guys. Good work. Um, let's talk about primarily today how we bounce back from a rough performance. What we're doing right now is tuning an Urza list, and anytime you go 0-3 at a tournament, you're going to need to make some adjustments with an experimental list. That's just how it is. Let's talk about what we observed and where we go from here. We're eventually going to switch over to the overhead cam, and I'm going to show you the process of me making drastic changes to my list. I only work with one list at a time. I think that there are different archetypes of Urza, and you can work on separate lists. But ultimately, I like to just have one and have kind of a sense of which archetype I think is most powerful based on what I'm seeing in the meta. The philosophy that I came into this tournament with is that there is a gap that exists turn 2 and 3. Most, I shouldn't say 3. It's mostly like 1 and 2. And what I was really trying to hit was the gap on 2 in order to basically get a top deck caster, storm off, and then get the whole deck on the field and get a win that way. So basically, the idea was an artifact-oriented Urza top deck casting turbo variant. And the way that we would prevent wins from the ROG size was putting out a significant portion of 0 and 1 cost artifact based graveyard hate. So that's how we prevented that. And then we would deal with the Kinnons with a series of silence artifacts. So Pithing Needle, Disruptor Flute, Phyrexian Revoker. I also like that one. And that was the philosophy, was that we would just turbo out one of these top deck casters. The problem that I ran into primarily was that I couldn't get to the top deck caster. It just didn't happen. Game one, the play pattern was very similar to just a normal Urza play style where you end up just tutoring for via Moonsilver Key, an A-B combo, in that case, Rings Basalt, and then going for it that way. But couldn't turn the corner there in time. Game two, I had an equipped Conflail. I had the gap. I had all of the pieces except for one. And I saw 5 or 6 cards via draw and Urza activations and just couldn't get a tutor. Couldn't get a top deck caster online. Feels bad. And we're going to adjust the deck for that today. That was one of those things where it felt really bad afterward, where it's like the general philosophy of not using counterspells and being able to rely on things like a Conflail or finding a gap that exists due to pacing, and then being able to just power through. All of that was almost there, and and that's where that's where the deck builders come in, is take those decks that are almost there and then make them boom viable, and then it just snaps overnight, where you find the way to boost the consistency of a primary idea, and that primary idea is top deck casting being card advantage. What are we going to change? So I think that the general philosophy of getting the top deck caster on the field and then basically winning the game because everything that you have in your library accentuates that game plan of playing stuff off of the top. That's a cool idea because there's like basically a lot of 5 cost, that's what it costs, blue cards that allow you to play off of the top. So the idea is 5 mana, play one of those, win. Ad nos, right? Like, for whatever reason, it doesn't work out as well. Like I haven't figured that out quite yet. If the entire plan is not viable and I just got unlucky, or if we're better pivoting towards what I think we're going to end up building today, which is a not a traditional Urza list, but it'll use the top deck casting as more of a card advantage accentuator, and then we're going to add a more broad set of toolbox cards in order to navigate what is a very complex ecosystem of mid-range decks. We just tried the concept of flying underneath the mid-range decks. It didn't work out. And we're going to first investigate the two routes. We have a fork in the road. It didn't work out, and we were really close. So let's see if we can close that gap and get there next time. Because this was the first time taking that particular idea to a tournament, especially this large, and seeing some particular things. So let's take a peek and see if we can make that happen. The other thing is, if I'm looking at that list after this process and decide, yeah, that game plan, I just don't think that this turbo thing, I don't think I'm going to be able to get underneath them. We're going to pivot towards that toolbox thing I was talking about a moment ago, and I think that might be equally as viable. Again, I just need more people testing this. Use the top deck casters if you play Urza. I promise you'll like it. The big question is, should it be used as a win condition and have cards accentuating that process? Or should it be used as a card value engine? Which you could argue is equally as valuable if you just have a grindy deck. So I think that I've tried the flying under the radar for the moment. Let's go see if we can fix that process and then goldfish it out, see if we fix it, in my opinion. And then we'll test it out, see if you got unlucky. That's the whole process. And then again, if I feel like that didn't go well, we'll pivot to a toolbox thing, which again I think is what everybody else is doing. So like, I'm tempted to go in that direction. All of the incentives tell me, hey, the best players are running these creature-based, board state oriented, funky effect containing control mid-range decks that eventually combo off or end in a draw. It's tempting to go that direction, but I think, again, if you want to get the wins, you should find a way to play around that being the meta. So let's move over to our overhead cam. Congratulations again to our SCGcon Portland 2025 winners. Good work. And we'll go get them next time as a group here. 0-3 doesn't stop me. Okay, we are using the overhead cam, so our audio is probably not that great. Let's pop on our handy dandy backlight. Ooh, there we go. Okay, we are making adjustments post-tournament. So there'll be a little bit of conversation, but mostly I'm just doing what I would normally be doing and letting you take a peek. So we've got our cards that we are going to experiment with. Do they make it right into the list right now? No. Do I want to consider them? Yes. But they're going to be in the binder, and if they're in the binder, they're going in a smoke bag. So let's pop these out of whatever they're in. Let's see. We got Unstoppable Plan. Oh yeah, that's what they had. The Guardian games. This particular version was the one that they had in stock, so there we go. We got Paradoxical Outcome, recommended by the dudes in the Urza Discord. If you are an Urza player, you should definitely stop by there, see what they have to say. A lot of knowledge to go around. Unstoppable Plan, Paradoxical Outcome. What do we got here? Ooh, Diversion Unit. I think that's going to be a cool one. They did good with these foils from Aether Drift, by the way. Not necessarily, it's not Pringling up, and looks pretty clean. I can't really complain. Okay. Alright, got here? We got the repurposing bay. Nice. They didn't have the yellow one, you know. But let me see how that looks on the camera. Yeah, that's not bad. That repurposing bay is not a bad looking card in the full art foil. Okay. And yeah, Hercule's Recall. I like the idea of this one in our storm list because obviously bring our own artifacts back, play them again, get the benefit there. But on it's target player, and it's an instant, so it's an interesting piece of interaction actually. If you can read that. Yeah, so basically target player puts all their artifacts back in their hand. For colorless into blue, that's not a terrible deal. Yeah. Get rid of the plastic. Just toss it in the bin here. Pop that in our drawer, and let's start going through the binder. So step one, when I'm making adjustments to the deck post-tournament, is that I basically pull out just all of the cards I might be working with. So, got those there. Anything that sticks out where I'm like, man, that might be a direction that we're going. Qualifiers right now, we're going to try and stick with the non-counterspell variant. We're going to try and stick with casting off at the top, but we are going to try and achieve more early game presence. How's that going to work out? Let's look through the binder and see if we can do that with that goal in mind. Okay, so artifact spells you cast have Convoke. I do like the idea of Chief Engineer, but again, that's just more mana. Do we need more mana in this deck? Not necessarily. Polywog is a staple, controversial. I think that right now I'm going to stick with the thesis that I enjoy card burst rather than card grind. So let's hold off on that first page. We could use a couple of tutors. That is one of the lessons that I got from our tournament. Let me just center that. That's not so bad. You can see most of that. We could use a couple of tutors. So I'm going to go with a Merchant Scroll. I think that's a decent decent way to go right now. I've always wanted to like Shadow Spear. I saw another Urza that was doing well running it, and I happened to be running it at the time that I won that tournament at Guardian Games with an Urza list pre-ban, and it always did its thing. But the only indestructible things that we're seeing right now are the One Ring, and you know, things are happening so fast. The One Ring's not really as scary as it used to be, but it's really just that protection aspect that becomes annoying, particularly from my list, because it's a damage-based win condition. The baubles, in theory, should be really good, right? Thorium Turbine has been recommended again by a few Urzas, and I've just never made it in there. Just hasn't. Let's see. So, reducers. My idea was get the top deck caster, and then everything would cost so little that you wouldn't need a reducer or a producer in the Chrome Host Seed Shark case. So that produces things. Cloud Key next to it, that reduces things. In general, which one's better, a producer or a reducer? I don't know. That's a real tough one. And the thing that it hinges upon is whether you have Urza. So if you have Urza, you want the producers. If you don't have Urza, I think you want the reducers, obviously. So it's good to have a mix. But right now, I don't really have either because I thought that 3 cost, just for the function of these two in particular, wasn't worth it. Fibblethip. Also a really interesting pick. See, I think that I'm going to set Fibblethip aside. I'm going to set Fibblethip aside. We're going to explore some more card advantage options. I think that that's a good place to start. Copies, I'm actually not... I thought that copies were going to be like a big deal. I'm actually not so hot on the copies right now. A couple of them are cool, but I've been looking around and I'm like, man, my imposter mech is not going to do anything. I had that moment a couple of times during the tournament. I drew it twice and had nothing to hit. Didn't really like that. Archmage for 4. I mean, it was just recently recommended, and I just said I would consider it. It's worth setting aside. We're going to look at that because we need some more cards. Forsaken Monument's always been kind of a cool option just for basalt reasons. Just increasing win con density. That's always nice. I think I would run it if I had, for example, the Foundry Inspector Cloud Key package. That is one that I tried before and I liked it a lot. It was pretty cool when I had some chunkier pieces in there. And if this, the way that it turns out, isn't really looking appealing on paper, we might just like put them all back in and then pull out some cards like that. So let's leave it there for a moment. Consphinx, same category. Yeah, just a little heavy. It's actually annoying to run into when I'm trying to storm off. Let's see. Personal Tutor. We're not looking for sorceries at the moment. We're not running Polymorph, although I'm thinking about trying a Polymorph version of this list. I know, but I think it'd be kind of funny. Let's see. Curse of the Swine. I've had it be really effective, but it's a lot of mana. And I think what's going to go in that slot is just that Amphibian Downpour, but we're still going to set it aside because it's like any Port in a Storm, I need some creature removal, and it can be cast off the top. Steel Enchantment, I think that's the same category. We're looking for some presence that we can cast off of the top, right? I think that both of those, I mean, yeah, I can cast for not X from the top. It's just not from hand. That's cool. Just Exile would have to be 0 if I'm remembering correctly. Let's take a peek. And I think Fibblethip, notably, which is right there with the Curse of the Swine, it would have to be 0 because Fibblethip exiles with that plot. I think I looked that up, and that's how that pans out. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Yeah, we're just going to pretend that that doesn't exist. Winds of Rebuke. So these bounces, I really liked the bounces. You know, I'm going to set it aside because it has that cool function of being a top deck manipulator for me if I need it to be. It can be an anti-tutor thing, and then it can also be removal, and then it can lead to, you know, me getting my own bounce to be a mana generator. So we're just going to set that aside for a moment. We'll see how desperate we get for interaction. How many ETB things are we seeing right now? Is Aboleth Spawn now going from non-viable because we didn't see Dockside to viable again because we're seeing... What are we seeing? Yeah, I don't think I'm seeing enough ETBs. I'm trying to think back to games where I'm like, oh man, that's a huge ETB. Love to have one of those. I don't think that's happened recently. Resculpt. I was thinking about this card. And I think we're going to have to delve into the 2 cost cards, which is why like Windsor Rebuke is getting pulled, Resculpt getting pulled, because the 1 cost cards are not enough. The 1 cost cards are essential because it gets us on the board early. With our 0 cost, we can get like our game plan going, and then we can leave a blue mana up from somewhere with a 1 cost something in order to have a presence, right? And then in order to stop the Rog size, we have a good suite of Graveyard Hate, and then just hope that they don't go Thoracle route and end up going, I mean, I guess if they're gonna go Breach Lines, they would already see that the Graveyard Hate is on there, so they'd hopefully their Breach Line is shut off. That's my point. Recurring Insight, 6 cost. We're going to avoid that for now. Loyal Inventor, kind of a cool idea right now, because guess what? I've been needing more tutors, and we cast off the top, so we're just going to pull that right now. Yeah. Scroll Rack. We never have any cards in hand, because we don't... I mean, nothing that we cast costs anything right now, so... but let's read it. Exile any number of cards from your hand face down. Put that many cards from the top of your library into your hand. Then look at the exiled cards. Put them on top of your library in any order. Oof. See, the thing is that it has that tap effect. So if it didn't, it'd be cool to be like a rock and then also do that, but it doesn't. So we're going to keep going. Ponder. Do we need some top deck manipulation? Do we need that to be a thing? Get Probe. I really like the idea of this card, too. It was one of those things that kind of like got cut at the end. These are, I feel... I'm going to pull these aside because it's one of those things where they're really good, and I'm like, okay, well, that's not the direction that we're going, and I need to be able to see them up against... Okay, let's see. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put them back in any order. You can shuffle, that is cool. Draw. Yeah, okay. They're just good. Mind Break. Yeah, storm into a thing that I can't cast for 4. Nope. Miscast. Yeah, that 1 cost interaction is so appealing right now, and sometimes it's worth it for a card like Miscast. That's what I'm thinking. Offer might be in the same category. Misdirection is not, right? Because I can't feasibly storm off the top, but it's like maybe there's a thing in my hand that I could miscast, maybe just to, out of desperation, keep going. But again, are we transitioning towards using the top deck casting for just generic card advantage, which I think might be the answer? That's the direction that we're going to go if what we do right here doesn't work, which is close the gap where we were having shortcomings with the original philosophy that we went into the tournament with, which was basically just fly right under these mid-range decks, which basically almost happened game 1 with, aforementioned politic and lie leading to certain outcome. I'm not saying I would have won that, but I had a pretty good chance. And I'm not saying I'm upset about another person getting the win. I just want them to own up to the nature of the way that they received the win. I'm like, if it's like, okay, these are 2 guys I'm never going to see again, and you're a person that'll get over it, and I was blatantly dishonest in order to get the win, I accept that. That's fine. That's a way to play the game. But to insist that there's a misunderstanding is just, it puts everybody in a tough spot. So that's enough about that. I'm trying not to whine about it. But again, my point is that it's not the record that I'm concerned about. It's just like the longevity of having to play with this person again and be like, insisting to other people that they shouldn't be politic with, as if they're just a straight shooting negotiator. But it's like every time I do that, I don't want to have to be like getting side-eyed and be like, oh man, you're misconstruing it. It's like, can we just accept what happened and move on, please? Or maybe I'm the one that's wrong. Who knows? Let's see. Mind Break Trap, Snow-Covered Island. Maybe I should consolidate you guys in the back of the binder. That would make more sense, but we're not going to do that right now. We talked about Miscast. Pact, you know, I'm sorry to give you up, but honestly, you don't come online until, like, later. A lot later. Leyline is super tempting, but again, storming into it doesn't feel bad, but having it in that open hand and then the consistency of our hands due to the nature of them being, you know, kind of all of the same purpose, it means that we don't have to like mulligan very often. We're gonna set it aside. You know, that's one of those where it's like if we're gonna get some flash speed shenanigans going, it'll probably be Leyline that makes it back in. I always have liked it there, and it's like is 4 cost too much right now? Probably, but we can cast it off the top, and it makes things like almost. It's almost like we have interaction if we can cast everything at flash speed, right? Bribery. What would we get? Yeah, see, yeah. I don't want to smash Tide Spout in there. I really want to be able to run Stifle. I think we run Snap, right? I think Snap makes it. Oh, it's just creature. We're gonna set it aside. I knew that. I knew it was just creature. I didn't know that. Geistwave, cool card. Yeah, sucks that we're having to look back into these. Run Away Together. Always been a fan of like this card, and maybe it has a place in this list. Are we just gonna jam a whole bunch of these in there? It's like nobody's everything's bouncing. It's bouncy house. We did that before, and it was okay. Counterbalance. I think that we bring that back out. I don't know. I experimented not playing it, and it's just like it's such a to me so important. Especially because I have Sensei's top combos going on anyways. I'm going for Sensei's. I might as well get it. Bobble, no. Exchange your words, super interesting, but I think that we're not going to do that right now. One Ring. I think you're coming with me. I think we're going to do this thing. Artifacts, creatures, or lands. I choose artifacts. I don't care about my creatures or lands. Does anybody else care about their creatures or lands? Yeah. But then it shuts down the creatures and artifacts. Storage Matrix might be uniquely good in this deck because we have so many artifacts. But we also have a lot of creatures. But we don't really tap our creatures. But we do have a lot of artifact creatures. Oh, wait a minute. But the artifact... Okay. Yeah. You know, Storage Matrix might be uniquely good. Because if it's an artifact creature, it'll untap. So that's cool. Because just because it's a creature doesn't mean it doesn't untap. This is such an interesting card. Any player may pay 2 life to counter target red or green spell as an instant. And it's like... That's... I mean, granted, it has the cumulative upkeep of 2, right? But... I don't know. Why do red and green have to be the worst colors? Let's see. Prismatic Lens. We're not looking for 2 mana rocks right now. Acquire. Super spicy. But we have spicier cards ourselves in our own deck. Let's see. Helm. I went with Helm in the original Storm Off Go Ham list, and I think that goes into the same category of the reducers and the producers. Let's see if we can get around that and just have it so naturally low to the ground that we don't need them. What about that? Mystical Tutor. We said that we needed more tutors. What's... You know... We cast off the top. Let's pop it over here. Yeah, why not? Why not? Been ignoring it for too long. Mana Drain. This was one of the things I got with prize dollars from that Guardian tournament. Preordain. Scry a couple. Take a draw. Yeah. I mean, it goes hard, but yeah. Boo. Harbinger. I've been thinking about Harbinger a lot. I think it goes really hard. I think it goes really, really hard. I think Back to Basics goes really hard, but I actually don't run a lot of basics myself. Look at my foil Tabernacle, guys. No, that's yeah, Proxyville. That sucks. But I don't think that we'd run it anyway. Repeal. That never return target non-land permanent mana cost with X or inside his hand. Draw a card. Yeah. We have so many 0-drops. Like, it didn't really work before because there was no good targets for me and it always cost too much to use it on other people's stuff. But we're going to set it aside because now that we run so many 0-drops, it's like... I don't know. Yeah. I think that's pretty low on the list of cards that we're going to put in. Winter Moon. What do you think about that card? It should go so hard, in theory, right? Same with Sapphire Medallion. Look at them both down here. They make so much sense, but then again, I know. Let's take a peek at Winter Moon. I think that's one of those cards that we can go hard with. Sapphire Medallion, because we're adding so much magic, I literally said so much magic, so many spells, so much blue, so many things in that category that are 2 cost. It'd be really cool if they're 1 cost. So, Medallion, making the cut. Narset. Why do I feel like it'll just get smacked? It won't, because I run a whole bunch of creatures, I think. But I do tap them for mana. We're going to set it aside. I love the idea of this card. But it costs 4. So we're not going to do that. Defiler. I always have to read this every time. Let's see. As an additional cost to cast blue permanent spells, you may pay 2 life. Those spells cost blue less to cast. If you pay life this way, this effect reduces only the amount of blue mana you pay. Whenever you cast a blue permanent spell, draw a card. Wouldn't it be cool if they made that legendary? Wouldn't it be just so broken as a commander? But it's like having it in the 99, for whatever reason, just seems so much less appealing. Oh my goodness, I gotta read it again, but I'm not gonna say it again out loud. You may pay 2 life. Okay. Why does it only have to be permanents, bro? Such a dookie. Let's go here. Okay, so Narset's a blue permanent. 1, 2, nice. 3, we're getting there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Dude, I'm out here clowning on Defile of Dreams, acting like blue permanents are just not a thing, and... Okay, let's see straight up. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That would have been exactly half. Okay. I was going to say half of them are all permanent, but it's pretty close. We only had like a handful left over. That, okay, so Defiler of Dreams, man, that actually, oof. That's super interesting now. I think we're just gonna, as a card, I mean, yeah, let's consider it. Mirror Maid. Why don't I like it? I don't know. Hercule's kind of cool. But I like it way more if it has flash. You know? Karn. I think we're just gonna. Yeah. Frozen Aether it actually goes so hard. Artifacts, creatures, and lands your opponent's control come into play tap. It's like, but for four, let me think about it. So artifact lines are kind of inconvenient. Creatures, and lands. I've never seen anybody play that. I think it's just it costs too much right now, but we're talking about Karn, you know. How much better or worse is it? I guess that uptake ability, being able to pop zero cost things, that is pretty huge. I think I'm gonna pull them both. I think we're really gonna investigate some big boy stacks pieces, some big boy hate bears, and in that same position, we're just gonna pull out that God Pharaoh statue. Let's see, spell can't be copied. I think C double goes hard. Oh no. Alright, 1 second, let me pause this. Because it's becoming notorious now, but the heating unit is kicking on right next to us. Yeah. We'll just make this a two-part. Cool, take it easy.